I often see posts online from people who are thinking of moving to Portugal and they want advice on whether it's a good idea, how much money they might be able to make here, which part of the country would be good to live in, which schools would be best for their kids, and so on and so on. All the questions which you can imagine and some which you can't. And I often try to advise these people based on my experiences. And the advice that I usually give is something like this. Firstly, it's a general advice because every person has different priorities. Some people have more money and so on. But first of all, I ask them whether they've got any kids. And if they have kids who are getting to the stage in life where they are sort of forming sort of lasting friendships and kind of starting to put down roots, then I tend to advise people not to come here, basically because of the education. Not that the education is always bad in the sort of narrow sense of the word. I'm not saying that the schools here are all terrible. I think there are some good schools and some good teachers, and the education system can be fine, as it can also be pretty bad. But that's the same in every country, really. It just depends on, whether you're at a good school, whether you have a good teacher, and so on. What I am really referring to is that just the fact of having grown up and have come of age in a country like Portugal, it's not really a very good start in life for a child who is going through their teenage years and into adulthood, for the simple reason that this is a country where the local people want to get out because there isn't really an awful lot of opportunity. It's a fairly small country speaking a language which isn't spoken anywhere else. It's not spoken in any other developed country. Only about 2% of the population of Europe actually speak Portuguese. It's quite far from the other more developed, the sort of central axis of the European economy, which I suppose runs from London down to Zurich, passing through Paris and the sort of more developed parts of Germany, and it's a country where the wages are pretty low. The minimum wage here is about half what it is in France or the UK. It's also a country with a lot of immigration. There's a lot of Brazilians in particular and migrants from the Indian subcontinent who are competing for the jobs that there are here. So when you add all these factors together, I don't think it's a good place to bring a child that is too old to be easily moved. If a child is young and you can afford to spend some time with the kids, in a coastal area where they can enjoy water sports, learning to swim and surf and all this kind of thing, then I think Portugal can be a really great place for a few years. But I think when kids get older, I think it's important that they should be growing up in a country with good opportunities for development and not too isolated. So that is the first point. The second point is that Portugal's legal system is not the best. Things can work fairly well, but it's known for being rather slow, complex, and expensive as well. I would definitely avoid anybody getting involved in legal cases here, particularly the family courts. Definitely don't make the big mistake that I did of trying to have a custody case in Portugal. That is really a recipe for creating a lot of damage to yourself, really. The typical strategy of a family lawyer here is to claim that the father is somehow a monster, that he's perverted or demented, and he shouldn't have any contact with his kids, which obviously creates a lot of conflict and can be quite lucrative for the lawyer, you know. It's not unusual for custody cases to go on until the children are 18. So the lawyers make a lot of money out of creating this sort of conflict, and unfortunately there's a lot of these sort of unscrupulous lawyers around. Which is not to say that there aren't other lawyers who are, you know, who care about children and try to help parents to reach consensual, amicable agreements and so on. But that's my general experience. So yeah, definitely avoid legal hassles. The third point, I suppose, is that you need to be prepared for quite a lot of bureaucracy. Things can take an awful lot longer than they should do. Probably the most shocking example in my case was the Institute of Legal Medicine. That is the body which is responsible for producing any kind of evidence, medical evidence which is required by legal procedures or cases. They take on average about 8 months to write up a report of medical exam, by which time is basically out of date and irrelevant. There are other examples of where things take too long. For example, at the moment it seems that the immigration services have a lot of trouble processing the claims for residency and nationality and so on in a timely fashion. So you need to be prepared for you know, for things to take a bit of time. So yeah, so those are three things. Yeah, bureaucracy, the court system, and the sort of education system, finally, I'll just say a couple of positive things. Just for balance, I think Portugal can definitely be a very nice place to live if you can afford to take care of yourself, and you know, and if you don't need to rely on the state, which is not a very rich one. You know, it's not a place where you're going to get a lot of help if you're unemployed or sick. But if you are in the position of having being able to work remotely or having a pension, or you can actually live quite affordably. It's still in many parts of Portugal, particularly away from the coastal areas, inland. In the north, it's still you find that your money will go quite a long way. You'll be able to eat out a lot more than you would in Northern Europe, and the quality of the foods, it's kind of simple cooking, but you can get nice grilled fish and with salad and rice. So it's quite a good healthy cuisine. And another thing about Portugal, which is really good, is that it's relatively safe compared to other countries. The crime rates tend to be a bit lower here, and in fact I've seen Portugal come up in the rankings as one of the top 5 countries for safety. That doesn't mean there isn't any crime here, especially in the big cities, but yeah, generally speaking, you can feel fairly safe in Portugal. So and then finally, I just wanted to mention my own thing which I like most about Portugal, which is the ocean. Portugal has the best waves for surfing in the whole of Europe. If you want to surf, then you really have to get to know some of the beaches here. You have the biggest waves in Europe are in the beach area of Nazaré. And in fact, there are good surfing conditions all the way up and down the coast, depending on if you really want the warmer water. Obviously, it's better down south. There's a couple of probably about 4 degrees cooler right at the top of the peninsula, but you can have probably get surf classes a bit cheaper up there. In fact, generally speaking, the cost of living is a bit cheaper when you go up north. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. Yeah, please let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, and definitely be willing to answer those. And yeah, welcome to Portugal.